the elections are of very important interest to all of us. And, of course, we have a primary coming in August and then the presidential election coming in November. And there's been an effort to get people to stay and vote from home. And that's been going on for a long time now with absentee ballots, if you're not going to be around or if you can't get to the polls. And now, of course, in Michigan, we have no reason absentee balloting, which means you can request one if you want to. But some people are stirred up because the effort to get people to request them maybe has overreached. And a woman who is in a unique position to talk about that is the former Secretary of State, now State Senator Ruth Johnson, the Republican from Holly, Michigan. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be here.
I think I summarized it properly, and that, well, first of all, let me just ask you, do you mind if people vote from home?
People have always been able to vote from home under certain circumstances, but you're exactly right. We call it no reason absentee. The new term for it seems to be mail-in. No one has to go to the polls. That was passed by the people in the proposal in November of 2018. So since then, anyone can vote all by mail or from home. But the difference is the checks and balances. Most of them are still in place by that proposal. They did strip out one, which is we never have to see a warm body now, which I don't think is a good idea. But this is much worse. This is definitely an overreach when you send absentee ballots to many people that are dead, moved. We have so far 2 non-citizens, a 16-year-old. We've had hundreds of complaints in less than a week, and so we're keeping track of them now and encouraging people if they get something that's not quite right to send them to the office. I chair the Elections Committee in the Senate, so it's Sen R. Johnson at senate.michigan.gov, and we'll be going through those. At this point, we haven't been able to get the Secretary of State to answer questions, so we're going to go forward and try to figure out what's going on exactly. We don't know what list it's really going to because you're sending it not only to dead people, but a lot of people that moved 10, 20. We even have one almost 30 years ago, and that's because the post office still will deliver it because they don't know who lives in that house. After 12 months, they don't have those records, and so they will deliver it. And that's what's happening, and it's concerning. It's very concerning because I think it opens the door to lack of integrity in our elections.
Just to be clear, they're not getting ballots. They're getting invitations to request a ballot, correct?
Yes, in Michigan you have to request that, and it's an absentee ballot request. So the state's pretty much saying, here it is, we think you're registered, you're on our qualified voter file. So it really does open the door to misuse or fraud.
The Secretary of State is saying, don't worry about that, because if someone sends one back erroneously, we'll catch it, and we won't send them the actual ballot. Again, I'm paraphrasing. Do you buy that?
Well, first of all, it's local clerks that conduct elections, not the Secretary of State. They have 34 people for the whole state. We're a local home rule state, and it's worked really well because it is the 1,603 local clerks that conduct. The problem is you'll have some high-populated cities that get over 100,000 absentee ballot requests. To look at their signature, they have no handwriting specialists, and many of them don't have time to look at the vast majority of them. Some on a smaller scale are able to, but the highly populated communities really don't. And I can say that when I was Secretary of State in the larger communities, I never got one report, but there should be some because somebody's had a stroke or broke their finger or their hand or their arm or had something wrong. So it's a tool, but it certainly does not cure the problem. It's just a tool, and when you send out absentee ballot requests to tens of thousands of people that are dead, moved, non-citizens, 16-year-old, or I got a complaint with pictures last night that they're getting envelopes that are empty. And the post office will deliver them if it's not past 12, the most 18 months is all they keep the data for. So they are getting to these households. We are telling them, here's a postage-paid absentee ballot request for you to send, and we think you're a voter. It really, I think that it's illegal for election officials to send out absentee ballot applications unsolicited. That's based on 2 court cases. Plus, the Secretary of State's own current election manual says, quote, clerks may not mail absentee ballot applications without having received a verbal or written request, plus you can do it online. And that's how it's worked for years. The difference is the first big election that anyone can vote by mail-in or absentee ballot, as it's called sometimes. It's already in place. It works great. Our clerks were rated some of the best in the nation, but instead the Secretary of State spent $5 million of taxpayer money to do this when it's already being done by the clerks. As far as if you would like it, you just simply ask, and you can ask one of 3 ways. Even just call up your local clerk and ask them. Then ask them to do that. Sending out absentee ballots that are unsolicited. It's really can cause voter fraud. And if somebody says, "Oh, that's not widespread," first of all, what's our systematic way to check? I don't care if it's not terribly widespread. Often our rules are to stop those things from being widespread. You wouldn't want the airplane companies to say, "We're not going to require safety equipment now," because we haven't had any accidents lately. That's what keeps the integrity in our elections, and that has been stripped out, and it creates opportunities for fraud and cheating.
It does. I wish we had more time to talk, but it sounds like the horse is out of the barn by now, though, with the primary coming up in August and a general in November. Ruth Johnson, state senator, Republican from Holly, former Secretary of State. And you can hear the passion in her voice there. It's Michael Patrick Shiels.